So even though, the last 12 months of 2024 has been a pretty tough year for most agents. I think there was a statistic that I saw that said 78% of realtors closed 0 deals last year. So, but there's still a lot of agents closing 8 or more in the last 12 months, which is amazing. But you've got to find those agents and you've got to get somebody to make those calls or call them yourself. But if you're not calling an hour, 2 hours a day yourself, it's going to be very difficult to get 10 appointments a week. Hey, welcome in, everybody. We're going to get started right away. We are recording, so we'll be able to use this later also. So for everybody listening to the recording, welcome to you too. Everybody on the meeting today, welcome. I appreciate you guys taking time to come out and see Work Less, Grow More online webinar where we're going to talk about hiring virtual assistants, how they can help your mortgage business, how they can free you up to close more loans. And we're actually going to go through and talk about how you can do it, how you can find and hire and retain the very best virtual assistants out there. So let's get started. Oh, and we will be having questions at the end. So we'll do kind of a Q&A at the end and do a book giveaway and some things like that. What else am I forgetting? Let's see. The record or the PowerPoint, we can send that over to you because there's going to be a lot of good information on the PowerPoint. So we'll send that over to everybody that made it today. And let's get started. We're going to first had a little bit of issue with PowerPoint, so I hope you guys can see everything really good. But we're going to talk about today what's a virtual assistant, why it makes sense to hire one for your mortgage business. Like I said at opening, the Work Less, Grow More book just was released, and it's actually on the Amazon bestseller because we did a bunch of pre-releases. So wanted to kind of show you guys that book. We're going to talk about the reasons why it makes sense to hire a VA for your business. So, and then we'll go in, like I said, and talk about exactly what to do, how to do it, and all that fun stuff. So what is a virtual assistant? And if for those of you that don't know what a VA is, it's an administrative professional or creative support for you as a loan officer. A VA can actually be anybody that's working out of, that's not in your office, that is virtual. In this case today, we're mostly going to be talking about VAs that come out of the Philippines. But like I said, a VA can be, it can be somebody that works across the neighborhood from you and so forth. So a lot of this will pertain to that too. So much to do. There's so much: scheduling appointments, checking email, managing our calendar, working on our CRM, working on processing. There's putting files together. The tasks are forever and ever, and I know everybody on here feels the same way. It can be very overwhelming sometimes, and that's why hiring a VA is going to be so important to your business. And I was talking to Gerard, who was one of my very first VAs. We're talking 15. Gerard, has it been 13 or 15 years ago that you started? Gerard?
Yes, I'm here. I started way back 2012. So it's been, we're turning 13.
13 years.
Or 12 this year. 12 years.
Yep. Okay, 12 years. So it's been 12 years since I've been using VAs in my mortgage business. Gerard is actually my partner now in Remote Assistant Scout, but he started off as a mortgage VA. So that's what gives him kind of an upper edge on helping find VAs really, really well for loan officers. But at the time, 12 years ago, I felt very overwhelmed. I was having to do everything, work everything on my files, do all my marketing, setting my appointments. And it's kind of like this picture. It was help. I need some help. There's just too much to do in our everyday business on running our mortgage business. So let's see. And then this kind of reminds me of something Carl White taught me years ago, that, we can start a project and be 99% done, and it's still not going to net any money for us. So if we start a bunch of projects and never finish them, we never get that business coming over, and we kind of feel like we're turning our tires and spinning our wheels. So we've got to cross those bridges and finish them 100%. And that's also where a VA can help us do that. Here's the good news. It doesn't have to be stressful. Our business is very stressful, but when we automate and get the right support, we can alleviate a lot of that stress, and we can do that with a virtual assistant for as little as $5 an hour. When talking about VAs from the Philippines, the cost of living is very, very different in the Philippines. So it's $5 an hour in the Philippines, I believe, is $5 to $7 an hour, is equivalent to about, if someone was here, it would be about $25 an hour. So it's a win-win for people in the Philippines to be virtual assistants. And then it's a win-win for us because of the low cost. So what are the benefits of hiring a VA? They can complete a lot of tasks at very low cost for us. They free our time up to make more money, to deepen our relationships, to build new relationships, to have more time to follow up with our past clients. So much that we can do with the help of a VA. So it helps delegate tasks that we don't want to do. And that sometimes, there's things that we just don't want to do because it's taken us away from our money-making activities. So those are the kind of things that we're going to have a virtual assistant help us with. And the range of skills that VAs have is limitless. I'm amazed at some of the skills that virtual assistants have, especially in the mortgage industry. So it's pretty amazing. So why a VA versus an in-house assistant? An in-house assistant, you've got to pay for a phone line. You've got to pay for an extra computer. You've got to set up a desk for them. They distract you from your 80/20, and we can talk a little bit about an 80/20. There's no payroll taxes, no office supplies. The VA comes with all of that. They're required to have their own computer set up. You may want to set up like a Ring Central number or a Skype number with a local phone number. So when they do make outbound phone calls for you, that it does look like it's coming from the US, and that's really, really easy to do. We talk about that a lot. So no office supplies, no payroll taxes. The big one is no distractions. I know when I have employees in the office and I'm trying to get work done, it seems like there's always distractions going on. So you say, maybe I can't afford one right now, and I kind of remember something that a mentor taught me years ago is you really can't afford not to. It's amazing that what really happens with good assistants is they're free. They bring in money by not just bringing in business, but alleviating busy tasks for you so you can you can work on your money making activities. So actually, they're not only free, but they should be bringing in more business for you and then paying for themselves and more. So hope that makes sense. So what if you spent your time, and I'll say more of your time, meeting with realtors and referral partners, talking to your database more, focusing on your business, leading your team, and strategizing? And I know a lot of times we don't have time to do a lot of these things. There was a statistic that came out that loan officers across the country were asked, what is the average amount of time in a week that you prospect? So you're actually making outbound phone calls to realtors or your past clients or meeting face to face with realtors. And the average was actually 15 minutes a month, as opposed to really we should be doing an hour to 2 hours a day of those activities. And so having that virtual assistant help you with those busy tasks will lead you to be able to have the time to do these things much more often. So what can I have my virtual assistant do? And there's really a few different types of VAs. There are some that can do pretty much anything and everything. There are some that are trained really well on making outbound phone calls for you. And then there are some that are high in tech activities and can do a lot of technology and techie work for you. Or you can get a basic admin VA that can help with your mortgage business by following up and collecting needed items from your clients and things like that. But basically, one of the things that you can have your VA do that really will change your business faster than anything that I've seen, and that's having them call realtors and set coffee appointments. Right now, me and another loan officer are having about 10 appointments a week that are set up just from a virtual assistant that makes outbound calls to qualified realtors. And so these are realtors that are closing 8 or more buy sides in the past 12 months. So they're actually doing business. The average is doing about 8 to 12 in the last 12 months. So even though, you know, the last 12 months of 2024 has been a pretty tough year for most agents. I think there was a statistic that I saw that said 78% of realtors closed 0 deals last year. So, but there's still a lot of agents closing 8 or more in the last 12 months, which is amazing. But you've got to find those agents and you've got to get somebody to make those calls or call them yourself. But if you're not calling an hour, 2 hours a day yourself, it's going to be very difficult to get 10 appointments a week. Whether you want 5, 10, you want phone appointments, you want Zoom appointments. So that's been one of the best strategies so far that we've seen virtual assistants do, is actually doing those outbound phone calls. You can have them call past clients. You can have them call your current clients for follow-up, like I said, needed items. You can have them answer the calls that are incoming from your cell. Just forward your cell when you're in an appointment, so nobody hits your voicemail. That's really, really important. They can help you with email blasting, text blasting, calendar management, CRM management with your database, realtor list research and building. So if you're looking for the right agents to call, your VA can help do that. Your social media, if you want to 10x your social media, you can have a virtual assistant help you with flyers, brochures, and there's so much more that they can do. In addition, we have loan officers that have hired VAs that will literally have the VA do the entire process of the files, from up until it gets submitted. So there's just the options are endless on what you're going to have your VA do. But what you want to do is think about, a lot of people say they're control freaks, and everybody, my clients and my realtors want to hear and talk with only me. And I always look at that, when we talk about billing at the doctor's office, we don't talk to our doctor. When we get checked in, we don't talk to our doctor. Having a VA actually helps leverage your time that way. So if you are in an appointment and your VA is answering the phone for you, that's just helping your business even more. So scripts that work, kind of bouncing around here, but Dr. Butler script, Richard asked me to give you a call and whatever that call is about. So when the VA is scheduling, let's say, for example, realtor appointments, he or she is saying, hey, this is Alyssa with the Richard Smith team. Richard asked me to give you a call, and he was wanting to know if you had availability sometime, Tuesday or Thursday for a quick call. Wants to find out more about you and your business, and whatever that script is. The Dr. Butler script is basically saying, Richard asked me to give you a call. So it looks like I just said, hey, can you give Realtor Jane a call here and see if she wants to meet. So I would say 1 out of 100 agents don't like that, but 99 out of 100 have no problem with that. So, and then calling your VA, your partner, one of my partners on the team, and upsell them. And really, you would do this with anybody that works on your team. Upsell them as much as you can to your clients, especially VAs and processors. Have your assistant create a how-to book on everything and anything that they're working on, and that will really help you in the long run. So we're also going to talk today about how do we find and hire assistants, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about, what more they can do for you, and how you can kind of figure out I've had a lot of people ask me, okay, well, what can I have them do? I'm busy. I'm just very, very busy, and I don't really know what to do and how to get them to help me. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to go step by step on exactly how you can find and hire a virtual assistant. And then, like I said, we're going to do a Q&A because I know there's a lot of questions, and we'll answer all of those. So sources, places to find virtual assistants. You can go to Fiverr. You can go to onlinejobs.ph. There's another company called Upwork. And then the company that Gerard and I run is Remote Assistant Scout. That's basically a done for you, all the vetting and placement. But I'm going to outline exactly what you can do to find a VA. And then if somebody's looking for a Spanish speaker, there's virtuallatinos.com, which I'm not associated with them, but I've heard some good things, and I know a couple people who have hired through them. And I know about close to 1,000 people who have been helped through Remote Assistant Scout. So the steps you're going to take, like if you're sitting there and you're like, okay, what's number one? What do I have to do to find me somebody to help me with my business? And the first thing is you want to define that job description. You want to make a list of everything that you want that VA to do. And really, the easiest way to make that list is you're going to do a kind of a brain dump. So for 1 week, you're going to write everything down that you do, everything. And this, I'm telling you guys, this is really, really helpful in the long run, because for a lot of different reasons too. You want to see what you're spending your time on. If you're working, 8 hours, 10 hours a day in your mortgage business, what are you doing? What are you doing from minute to minute? And when you start writing down everything that you're doing, it's really helpful in a couple ways. One, it's going to tell you exactly what you need to do, or the things that are taking your time that you can have a virtual assistant do for you. And then you're going to think about the things that you're not doing, which is really important. So if you're chasing docs all day, you're not doing some of the things that are going to help you bring in more business and more business. So number one, you want to do the triad of awesomeness exercise. And let me show you that. Sorry, we had a technical difficulty with PowerPoint. But here's what you want to do. And this is going to take about 30 or 45 minutes. But you really want to do this. You're going to take a piece of paper, you're going to turn it sideways, and you're going to make 3 columns. The first column is going to say things that I love to do. The second column is going to say things that I'm good at. And the third column is going to say things that bring in money. So what you're going to do now is you're going to start writing down everything that you do, and you're going to put them in any of those columns that they match. So let's say you're going to put chasing docs. Do you love to do it? No, you're going to leave that blank. I don't know many people that love to do that, but if you do love it, put it in that column. If you don't love it, don't put it in that column. Then you look at, am I good at it? Probably. So you can write chasing docs in that column. And then does it bring in money? Now, technically it does, because that's going to help you close a loan. But that really, doing that activity does not bring in money, because if you have someone else do that, you're still getting paid because of the money making activity that you did at the beginning. So bringing in money is going to be more things like calling realtors. Do I love it? Yes or no? You got to answer that yourself. Am I good at it? Probably, maybe not. Does it bring in money? Yes. That activity will bring in money. So you just keep doing this for everything that you're doing day in, day out for a week. And you're writing down, is this something I love? Is this something I'm good at? Is this something that's bringing in money? And it's going to show you a couple things really, really quick, that there might be a lot of stuff that you don't really enjoy doing, but you have to do it to bring in money. And I'll give you an example. When I did this years and years ago, really enjoyed meeting with realtors and building that relationship, because I knew if I had good relationships, then my business is going to increase. And the more relationships I have, the more my business will increase. But when I thought about, okay, calling realtors to schedule realtor appointments, coffee appointments, I did not love to do that. So that was blank. Am I good at it? I don't even know if I was good at it. I didn't think I was very good at it, so I left that blank. Does it bring in money? Yes, that brings in money. So I went to the next thing, following up with documents. Do I love it? No. Am I good at it? Yes. Does it bring in money? Not really. And then on and on and on, I went down that line. And what you're doing is you're looking for the things that are in that triad of awesomeness. And what that means is you're looking for the things that are in all 3 columns. So meeting with realtors, I love it. Meeting with realtors, am I good at it? Yes. Does it bring in money? Yes. So those things that are in that triad of awesomeness, those are the things that you've got to spend more time doing. And what ends up happening is we realize that we're not really doing those things, because the things that we don't love and aren't good at, those are the things that are taking us away from the money making activities. So we're building that list. The other thing is you're going to want to build a list of everything that you wish you could do, that you had time, or you wish you knew how to do. And on that list, those are going to include things like, I kind of wish I had a better presence on social media. I kind of wish I knew how to bring in deals from my Google 5-star reviews, or, just all sorts of different things that you don't know how to do, or you just never have time to do. And that's another list of things that you can have your virtual assistant do. So you're looking at two things. You're having them do things that you don't enjoy. You're having them do things that you don't have time to do. And you're having them do things that you don't know how to do. So those lists are really going to help you define exactly what you want your VA to do day in, day out. And it sounds like a lot, but you can break it down into the most powerful strategies. So you may start off with a VA that's going to help you make outbound phone calls. So, for example, you may have them make realtor calls for an hour a day. That's going to get you probably 5 to 7 coffee appointments a week. Then you might want to have them calling past clients an hour a day on your behalf. And that's going to net you X amount of appointments, talking with somebody that might be interested in refinancing or buying or even selling. Those are great appointments to have, finding people that are ready to sell, because now you kind of control that and you give it back to the agent that gave it to you. So those calls are real important. So having those calls set up for you really helps too. So defining your ideal candidate, who are you looking for? What work background are you considering? What's the level of experience that you're looking for? Are you wanting somebody new, intermediate, advanced? You've got to think about really what you're looking for, and then finding the right person for that fits that role that you're finding. So you're going to want to post an ad to the online firm. So the places that I told you about earlier, you know what you want, you know what you're looking for, you know what you're going to have them do for you. So you're going to post a job requirement with steps for applying. You want to set up face-to-face interviews for those that only follow the process, and you want to include your hourly offer and the amount of work. So you don't have to necessarily hire a virtual assistant for 40 hours a week. You may want to hire them for 20. So just make sure you put that in your ad, so you know exactly what you're looking for and you attract exactly what you're looking for. Here's an ad template. And like I said, we're going to give you this PowerPoint after the class. So, and if you're listening to this on the recording, just reach out and let us know, and we will send you the PowerPoint. So this is kind of an ad template for hiring a virtual assistant. If you take a look at it, it explains, what you're looking for, what the responsibilities will be, when they must have the ability to work. This one's actually written out for a full-time 40 hours a week. The fact that they can have no other job, they'll be dedicated. They have to have their own computer and wired internet access to apply for the position, and explain exactly what you want. Do you want a resume? Do you want a disc assessment? Do you want a sample voice recording? And then time to interview. So the additional tasks that I would recommend, one being a disc assessment, so you can see the strengths that they have. A voice recording, especially if they're going to be making outbound phone calls, you want to know exactly how, you're looking for somebody that's articulate, somebody that can handle objections. So listen to that voice recording. You can request a sample of their work. If you're going to have them do flyers, graphics, any kind of design, any social media, you can request a sample of the previous work that they've done. And this is in addition to a resume, obviously. Letter of recommendation from past employees. You can set up mock calls if you want to hear exactly how they handle objections and things like that. So this is kind of a list of that. Follow-up email. If they don't send you something that you asked for, I would send a canned response, just basically saying, thanks for your interest. To move forward in the next round of interviews, please send me X. So please send me a sample voice recording. Describe your past experience as a virtual assistant. Why do you feel you're a good candidate? What are some of your hobbies and things? You want to get to know them as a person and not just an employee. And that's kind of a FYI anyway, is you want to treat your virtual assistant just like you would treat any other employee, and you want to treat them like a person. You want them part of your meetings. You want them to be included as much as possible. And so screening your candidates, once your submissions and your resumes start coming in, you want to listen to your live recordings, or I'm sorry, your recordings. You want to email them back if you're interested in going further and setting up an interview. And you can do that on Zoom. You can do it on Skype. I suggest doing it video so you can get a real good feel for how they sound, how their connection is on their computer and everything. So it's real important to do it through Zoom or Skype. And then be real quick when deciding if you're going to hire somebody or not, just because really good candidates get scooped up quickly. So you want to be very careful about that. Prepare for your interview. We're going to, if you go to this URL, you can get a whole list of job interview questions that we put together. So have your questions available when you're going to do your interview. And this is a list that you can go get. So the big day, the actual interview, schedule the interview a day or two prior to the time. There are time differences, but virtual assistants, if you need them to work Eastern or Central time, that's who you're going to look for. If you want them to get work done overnight, you can do that. I know some people that do that, but most of the time, the majority of loan officers will hire their virtual assistants to work the same times that they work. So whether that's Central, Eastern, Pacific. Set up the Zoom URL if there's a video interview, and then be real observant of the candidate's connection and background noises, because whatever you hear during that interview, that is what your clients and realtors are going to hear in the background. And so you don't want to have any kind of background noises, any issues with that. Give the top 2 candidates a second interview. And you really, like I said, you want to do this. You want to do this within a day or two, because you don't want to lose that person to somebody else, because usually they're out applying at a lot of different places. So you want to be very careful with that. So hiring the VA, when you find someone you like, offer them the position. So I'm offering, let's say $5 an hour for 20 hours a week. If you're wanting somebody with unbelievably awesome experience in processing loans, then the price is going to be a little bit higher. If you're looking for a specialist that will help you in technology items and tasks and strategies, it might be a little more than $5. So the starting wage is $5 usually for administrative and or freedom callers. But depending on experience, you may want to offer higher, because like I said, they are out looking for jobs, and other people are giving them offers occasionally. So a quick tip is you want to focus on one item at a time. I wouldn't suggest giving them that list that you wrote, your triad of awesomeness, and then just saying, I need you to do all of this all week. I would suggest just starting with one item at a time and then time blocking their time. So they may do outbound phone calls for 2 hours a day and then work on social media for an hour and then work on the CRM for an hour, or just help time block and do standard operating procedures. And that's another thing that we can help you with, that if you reach out to me, I can send you some samples, SOPs, standard operating procedures, and some sample time blocking and things like that. So be real cautious about overdoing it at the beginning. So one at a time is always best. When do you say goodbye to an employee? And this isn't just with virtual assistants. It's really whenever you start questioning, is this person going to work out? You know, and you've got those red flags coming up. So be real cautious of that. And it's time to move on. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the mistakes that I've seen and that I've made myself, that'll really help you guys out too. Oh, and here they are. Number one biggest mistake I've made, and I've seen so many others make, is getting the wrong person. I've talked to so many loan officers that they'll say, well, years ago, I tried to hire a VA and it just doesn't work for me. And what ends up happening is it was really just the wrong person. So hiring the wrong person, you've got to, when those red flags come up, you've got to realize that, man, I need to get rid of this person and hire someone else. And so that's where do not firing fast enough comes in. And, you know, people are people. You hate to fire somebody, but if they're just not the right fit, you've got to move on and you've got to hire somebody else. So giving up too easily is the same thing. When you're not finding that right person, you don't want to give up. So years ago, when I hired Gerard, I had hired 3 other VAs before Gerard, but they just weren't the right fit. And I felt it. And one of them, I let her work for like 2 weeks and then 3 weeks, and I knew she wasn't the right fit. So finally I said, okay, I need to move on. I need to find the right person. So it's real easy to fall into that trap and know that you have the wrong person, but you're going to keep them. And then you just give up on the whole thing, like VAs don't work. And it's just not true. So don't communicate proper expectations up front. That is very important to communicate the proper expectations. So when you're talking about, let's say, setting realtor appointments, you've got to be able to explain that, look, if you're going to call an hour a day, Monday through Friday, then the minimum expectation is that I should have at least 5 coffee appointments. And so you want to have proper expectations. You want to give that that team member a goal of exactly what they should be hitting. So always communicate proper expectations up front. And that, my friends, is it. So we're going to open up for Q&A. There's a couple things that I wanted to talk about. One is Remote Assistant Scout. It is the company that Gerard and I run. And basically what we do is we help loan officers find the right fit VA. So we do everything up until through the interviews. We do the interviews with you. We review the disc assessments, the resumes, the voice recordings, and then you do the interview along with us, and then you find your right fit VA. So that's something, if anyone has any questions about too, we can talk about that. And then the other thing was that I released today, and it's actually a bestseller already, is Work Less, Grow More. The book was released today. You can find it on Amazon. And I basically go through and teach you exactly everything that you have to do to hire yourself a VA. But like I said, if you want to do it much easier, you can hire through Remote Assistant Scout. So let's open it up for questions. How do you unmute? I guess you guys can unmute yourself. Anybody have any questions? No questions.
I have a question.
Oh,
This is Mark Neely. What's usually the cost for you guys typically to help us hire?
Gerard, do you want to talk about the special that we're running?
Oh yeah, so our published rate for the all done for you package is actually at 1,195, but for today's registrants here exclusively for this on this webinar that should be down to 895, so there's a $300 discount for it. And typically before we start the process, we would require an initial deposit of 400 prior to starting, and the remaining balance of 495 will be at the end of the transaction as soon as the VA of your choice accepts your offer after the final interviews.
And Gerard, are we doing the training also?
Oh yeah, so and this training is specifically for, the Thor's hammer or the realtor appointment training, as well as client follow up, regardless if they're present, they're current, or past clients. So, what we do here is we typically spend like 3 days with a virtual assistant, and that should be at 4 hours each day. And that would be a comprehensive training. So, the scripting is included. Mock calls are included, practice calls, and as well as call shadowing. So, call shadowing is when your virtual assistant hire is listening to an actual live Thor's hammer call. So, at least, they're kind of like immersed into the system and how to navigate the rebuttals and the objections from the realtors.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Mike.
Hey, Richard. How long do you think that the time from the time you get started, launch with you, vet, select an employee? Typically, what are you seeing? How much time it takes for them to actually start like being beneficial or fall into the groove? Or flow.
So with pretty much any task, but are you talking about specifically outbound phone calls or in general?
Yeah, we're talking about one task and then adding another task and then adding a third task.
Yes. So what I like to do and what I've seen work really well in the past is if, let's say, now it does depend on what you're going to have your VA do. But for example, if you're going to have them make outbound phone calls and then work on some admin stuff and work on some social media, then it's would be best to have them start making calls, and then in the extra time that they have during that day to do training. So you want them to learn. You can have them do any kind of training. If you're a member of something like MMA, you can have them do trainings on there. If your company has trainings, you can have them do training, or they can learn how to do, let's say, your CRM. So you would schedule them a time block of an hour a day doing that. So, but what I've seen is within a few weeks, they should be doing multiple things for you. On the same hand, if it's really, it just depends. Like, what are your thoughts on what do you think you're going to have a virtual assistant do for you? Because it really depends on what you're going to have them do.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of what your thoughts are?
Yeah. Okay. Outbound calls, database management, CRM management, social media posting. Mhm.
Yep, they should be good to go within a few weeks.
And would they have access as an MMA member? They have access to the MMA website, the tools and resources that are on there?
Yeah, we've always allowed to be able to share those trainings in the past. I'm not sure now, but it hasn't been an issue. I'll just say that.
Okay. Yeah. Is there any other costs associated with as the virtual assistant other than the hourly rate or wage?
No other cost. The only thing I would suggest is, like I said during the presentation, either if you have Ring Central, you would want to give them one of the extensions to make outbound calls. If you don't have a Ring Central, then what you can do is you can order a Skype account with a local phone number. It costs probably $5 a month, or some people do Google phone or whatever, because you want them to, when they make their outbound calls, you want it to be a local area code. So if you don't have your own phone system, let's say you're just using your cell, you can set up a Skype for them. So that's the only cost I could think of that you would be required. And speaking of, let's say you do agree at $5 an hour. You're going to ask your VA every 2 weeks to send you an invoice, which is a marketing expense, and then you can just PayPal them their pay over to them biweekly. So
Gotcha.
Shouldn't be any other cost. With Remote Assistant Scout, if we help find your VA, there's absolutely no other cost. It's a one-time fee. I know there's a lot of companies out there that have that intermediary fee where they also charge hourly. There's nothing like that with Remote Assistant Scout.
Perfect.
Any other questions from anybody? Just unmute yourself or put your hand up, James. Thank you.
Hi, Richard. Quick question with regards to the maybe I wasn't listening, but the CRM from the with Chris Johnson. We can just use the phone number for there. I don't need to then do the Skype, or yes or no.
His setup is similar to like Ring Central, where they can use it. I know people who are doing their VAs use it through that system. Correct.
That's what I was thinking. Is because they told me to get rid of Ring Central, and I did.
Yep, because it's all inclusive. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
You bet. Any other questions?
Richard, Bill Hedrick, do you are these people that you're hiring, are they experienced and have already done this for other people, or are these brand new people that you're training?
We find both. So it depends when you're out looking and what's available. What we do have access to are many VAs that are in our staffing, or they're not part of our staff. They're kind of waiting for people to work for. I guess I can put it. I probably didn't word that correctly. But to answer your question, both. There are VAs that have worked for loan officers for many, many years and have experience in things that we do. There are VAs that have experience with Thor's Hammer that are really, really good. The cool thing about Thor's Hammer is you can hire somebody to do your Thor's Hammer, and if you're getting 5 appointments or 7 appointments a week, you're going to reach a tipping point where you don't need more appointments. So you may let that caller go, and then they're going to be available for somebody else. And then there's also a lot of loan officers that want a caller only, and they want that caller to work, let's say 2 hours a day. Well, that person may have the bandwidth to work 8 hours a day. So they're going to work for 4 different loan officers, and that just gives them more experience. So yes, we do have experienced people.
Do you have people that understand how to run the loan officer CRM that Chris Johnson has out to do the DSR and keep track of all the lists and everything?
Gerard, how are you seeing experience in Chris Johnstone's CRM?
Being that the Chris Johnstone CRM is fairly new, so just basing on our pool of talent, so we have a low inventory of virtual assistant candidates of an actual work experience with, with the loan officer CRM.
Yeah, it's relatively new, but here's the thing: when you hire somebody that has experience in, let's just say, CRMs, so they've got a lot of experience working in different CRMs, it doesn't take much for them to learn a new one. So that's what we're looking for. Like, let's say in the case that, let's say you were wanting someone to help you with that CRM, you're going to have to schedule them the first week or two doing a lot of trainings, but then they learn it. They learn that CRM fast because they do have experience working CRMs. Does that make sense? Any other?
Thanks, Richard. That answered my questions. I appreciate you.
Oh, you bet. Thank you. Any other questions today?
Hey, Richard.
Hey.
Just starting out, like if you did want someone to just call for say 2 hours a day, when I guess once things got going, if you needed to back off of them, you mentioned that they would probably go somewhere else. Is there a way, if you liked them, to get them again? Or is it one of those things that once they leave, if they could be tied up later?
That it could be either way. Are you saying that you would you want my advice? My advice would be if you reach a point where you don't need any appointments, then maybe you have them make outbound calls to your past clients, something. Because if you're paying them $5-6 an hour, I would keep them on. I guess that's my suggestion.
Yeah, I was just curious because I'm just starting out in all of it. So I was just kind of thinking about it. So I was just kind of curious your opinion, but that's helpful.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So Travis, this is Gerard again. So I guess, it could be either way because we've had clients before so that we helped them find their VA and, they kind of like postponed for a year. And after a year, they reach out to that same VA without going through us. And, they still have, so the VA still continued, working for the loan officer. But then again, at the end of the day, that would still depend on their availability. If if they still have the bandwidth of working additional hours for you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it boils down.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Gerard. Cool. Any other questions? Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all for being on today. I appreciate you. See if I have to stop my recording.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Richard, after listening to that, I know why you're doing this instead of singing somewhere.
Instead of what? Oh, singing. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet, man.
All right. Thank you all.